What is up, guys, and welcome to the 9th video in this series. In this video, we are going to cover cloud generation. So, to start, let's create a new class, and we're going to call it the ML Cloud Generator. And we're going to do some basic setup here. So I'm going to say import sprite kit, class ML Cloud Generator. It's going to be an SK sprite node. Have a superclass of SK sprite node. And yeah, so that's going to be our basic outline here. To start, we're going to declare a couple constants. So one is going to be cloud width. It's going to be a CG float. And the other is going to be cloud height. So these two constants, the width is going to be 125, the height is going to be 55. These are just going to declare our basic height and width for all the clouds that this class generates. And now let's start actually, we want to put some clouds on the screen here. So we're going to create a function. We're going to call it populate, and it's going to have a parameter called num, and this is just going to be the number of clouds that we want to generate with this class. So I'm going to do a for loop now. I'm going to say for var I equals 0, I is less than the number that we put in here, that parameter, I++. And so we want to go through this loop for the number of times that's in this num variable, and we want to create a cloud every single time. So now actually I need to create one more class. We need to create the ML Cloud class, and this is just going to keep it organized. So let's just create an ML Cloud class, and just to stay organized over here in the navigator, you can grab both of these things, right click, and then click on new group from selection. And you can kind of put a full folder here. I'm just going to call it cloud generation, and all of our cloud generation classes will go under here. And the only classes we're going to actually have for this are going to be these two. So again, we're just going to create a basic frame. I'm going to say import sprite kit, class ML Cloud SK sprite node. And now what we want to do is we want to create this initialization method, which is going to make our code in the ML Cloud Generator method a little bit cleaner. So I'm going to say init with a given size, so CG size. So this class is going to let us establish a given size for our clouds. I'm going to call just the superclass's initializer. And actually, I made a mistake here. This is not going to be an SK sprite node. This is actually going to be an SK shape node. So this is a different type of node in SpriteKit. It's the unique thing about an SK shape node is you can define the variable on it called path, and that it draws a specific shape given the functions that you put into that path variable. This might seem a little bit confusing at first because I think it kind of confused me when I first saw it, but let's just kind of show you what I'm talking about here. So I'm going to say let path. So this is going to be the path that we set our ML Cloud's path variable to. I'm going to say CG path create with ellipse and rect. Yeah, I know that's a lot, kind of a mouthful there, but the core graphics has a lot of these methods for creating paths. This one in particular is going to be really useful for us because we just want to create an ellipse within a certain rectangle. It creates that oval pretty nicely and pretty easily with a single line of code. So you can look into core graphics if you want on all the different paths you can make. It's pretty cool. There's a lot you can do with that there. So it's asking us for a CG rect. I'm going to say CG rect. I'm going to say it's x value of 0, y value of 0, a width of size.width, and a height of size.height. And remember that size is just the parameter we passed in right here. Transform, you can just put nil. And all we're going to do now is say self.path equals path. And we also, if we were to pull this up and add it to our scene right now, we actually wouldn't see anything because we haven't set a color for any of it. By default, they're just clear color. So I'm going to say fill color, which is a property of SK shape node, equals UI color dot white color. So now if we were to create an SK-shape node and add it to our scene, we'd actually see that oval. And it's going to give us an error because we did this initialization method. As always, we need to say, put this junk in here when we override initialization methods. So let's go back into ML Cloud Generator. And now we can create our clouds. So we're going to say let cloud equals ML Cloud with the size that we established up here. So it's going to be a CG size with a width of cloud width and a height of cloud height. Now we want to set the X and Y variables, and just initially to start, we want our clouds to be in random positions within the scene because we're just populating the scenes with clouds. We're going to create another method that actually generates clouds that start coming by starting at the right of the screen. But for now, we just want to create a random X and Y value. So the function to do this within Xcode is we want to cast this first to a CG float because that's what position coordinates are in. And we're going to say arc for random uniform. Yeah, it's kind of like a weird function, but basically what this function does is if I were to say arc for random uniform 4, it would give me a random number between 0 and 3. So that's all this function does. It looks a little bit complicated, but it's pretty simple. And the parameter this function actually takes is something called the uint32. So it's an integer with a 32-bit size. If that confuses you, don't worry about it. Just kind of put this in here. You just have to know you have to cast it to this uint32 type here. We're going to say size.width right here. And then we're going to say minus size.width over 2. So let's see what's going on right here. What we're doing is we're saying we want to get a random number that's between 0 and the size of our ML Cloud Generator node. And the ML Cloud Generator node is actually going to be, it's going to encompass the entire view of our scene. So that's why it's going to get a value from 0 and the width of our screen, essentially. And we're going to just say minus size.width over 2, because if you think about it, our clouds are going to be positioned from the center of our ML Cloud Generator. So we need to make sure we correct for that, and we subtract that size.width over 2 so that our clouds are actually contained within the view. So we're going to do a similar thing now with the Y value. We'll say arc for random uniform uint32 size.height instead of width. And we'll say minus size.height over 2. So now we're just going to set the cloud's position to these values. So cloud.position equals cg.make xy. And add child cloud. Now there's one thing we're going to actually have to come back and change here. I'll demonstrate it after I kind of show you this thing in the simulator, but it's something called the Z position property, and we'll go over that in just a sec. So if we go back into game scene here, let's go into game scene and let's just actually start commenting some of this just so it stays organized. So we're going to say just add grounds, add hero, and this next part we're going to do is going to be, oh come on, it's freezing on me. It's going to give me that bug, which is a little bit frustrating, I'm not going to lie. Okay, cool, it's going to give me a little crash there. We're going to say add cloud generator right here. So we're going to set up a new property up here. Remember, actually, yeah, I need to go over this really quick. I've been calling these right here global variables, these variables that are outside of the function names. Someone actually mentioned and corrected me on this, so they're not actually global variables. They're supposed to be called properties. That's the technical word for it in Swift. A global variable is something like we declared in constants right here that's outside any class declaration and can be accessed by all of the classes within your project. So just to be clear, I'm going to be calling these properties from now on. And okay, so we actually need to add one more property right here. That's what I was doing. So I'm going to say var cloud generator, ml cloud generator, and we're going to say cloud generator equals ml cloud generator. And because ML Cloud Generator is an SK sprite node, I'm just going to use this initializer method that SK sprite node has that we've been using quite a bit so far. And I'm going to say UIColor.clearColor because we don't want the generator to actually have any color. We don't want people to be able to see it. We just want it to start to generate our clouds. And the size is going to be our view.frame.size. So now we need to set the position really quick on our cloud generator. And the cloud generator just needs to be positioned in the center, so it encompasses the entirety of our scene. I'm going to add child cloud generator, and we're going to do cloud generator dot populate. And just remember when you're creating these kind of generator methods to actually add them to your scene. I mean generator nodes. I tend to forget adding them, and then try to call the functions that I create on them. They're not working, and then I don't know why. Then I'm like, oh, okay, I just forgot to add them to the scene. Let's do 7. We just want to add 7 clouds to start. And let's pull this up here. Let's run this. Okay, so sweet. You see that we have our clouds here. The problem that I was talking about earlier is that Z position. As of now, our clouds are going to actually cover the path, and it's going to cover our hero. Unless we set the Z position to something like -1. I'll actually start that in the beginning of our next video. In the beginning of the next video, we're going to do the Z position, and we're also going to get these clouds moving and generating as you go along.